Oftentimes in our landscapes, when we plant out plant material, either we put them too close together or they can exceed the range that was listed on the label. So we're in a predicament here where this was one time a Globe Colorado spruce. And what can happen is they'll revert back to a pyramid. So our goal today, we're gonna go ahead on this Techny Arborvitae. I'm pretty sure this is a Techny. We're gonna shear the sides on this just lightly. We can't go in too far. You can get into some of that ugly wood that probably wouldn't recover. As we get up to the top though, we're gonna be able to take off probably close to 18 inches and we'll get this more into a pyramid fashion. For our Globe spruce, we're actually gonna just go ahead and take off 2 or 3 of these main leaders. And if you look closely here on the side, it's a little bit lopsided. We're gonna be able to go in with our pruners and try to get this scaled back a little bit more on that right side and turn this back into a Globe spruce. We've got a nice photo here that does way back when this was first planted. And you see in the background, it looks like there was a burning bush that wasn't originally planted. Okay, let's go ahead and get started. And I think we're gonna start in this Colorado spruce first. It's kind of a point of no return once we make those big cuts. We might expose just a little bit of some branches in there that's got some desiccation on the needles, hopefully not too much. We're going to start by taking off just a couple feet and then we'll keep going lower and lower. It's a good idea to look at it from many different angles, and the trick is to try to visualize what it's going to look like when we take that next whirl out. I just want to get maybe this top extra 18 inches to 2 feet on that whirl. Yeah, so here goes nothing. We're going to have to break out the pruning saw for this one. All right, I think we're getting close. As you work around the spruce, you can kind of look at it from the side angle view, and that'll show you where we've still got some of the branches sticking out, but I'm happy with how this turned out. Okay, not bad at all, but it's uniform all the way around. We're gonna go after that Techny Arborvitae next. I like to use a good sharp manual head shears rather than the automatic ones. I don't wanna go in too deep. I feel like sometimes you can get pulled in, especially if you don't have a sharp reciprocating blade. Once again, when I'm doing a pruning project, I tend to not try to take everything at one time. We'll go over it the first time, and then we're going to come back through a second time and get this thing into beautiful shape. One thing I just noticed, I am going to break out the tarp. We've got lava rock here. It's an incredibly light rock, and I won't be able to vacuum it out of there. So we'll get that tarp in place. We're going to hand clip out some of the longest branches here. We'll go in, take them out, and then we'll come through with the shears. Again, a little bit of a back and forth between the two tools. Now, how low can you go on an arborvitae like this? Since we're typically at a lower eye level, yeah, you can get away with scalping just a little bit. You'll get some new growth. I personally don't like to do that, but we're going to get almost 2 feet off this thing and get it down lower than the gutters. This is one of the toughest arborvitaes out there, Techny. There's also a nice little more compact variety called Technito, and they're the most burn resistant arborvitae in our area, Zone 3 up in the northern Great Plains. Just tremendously reliable arborvitae. Doesn't tend to get taken down by snow load either. Okay, here's where we're going to start tapering it off. We've taken back as much as we can on the top. Now we're going to go through, start cutting in. And we're occasionally still going to get one of those thicker branches, and once that happens, we'll just cut it so you can't see it, so it doesn't get that stubby look when we're all done. We want mostly just fresh foliage on the tips. I always joke that I took judo in college. That's how you learn how to fall. I'm on a wobbly ladder here, but I don't mind. When we're all done too, we're going to go through and ruffle all the branches. A lot of those leaves that we're cutting, they get hung up in there. And about 2 to 3 weeks later, you got these brown specks all over. Some of that still might happen, but then we'll try to avoid having that in here, so the customer, you don't have to worry about that. Arborvitaes are one of my favorite plants. That Thuja occidentalis, that's the Latin name. Check out some of my other videos I've done over the years where I've highlighted some beautiful arborvitaes. One I've got is my video on my arborvitae collection. But just a nice, dark, rich green arborvitae. The arborvitaes have a really, really aggressive, fibrous root system, and boy, if you've got water in the area, they're going to want to take all of it, but they'll take also just an incredibly dry area. Make sure you step back and forth to get a visual on where you're at. You can see if you look closely at the left side here, it's getting a little more sun. So we've got a lot more twigs we're going to have to take out of there. Compared to this side, we're probably going to shear it quite lightly. You've got to be careful in that regard that you don't try to take the same amount off on the whole plant, because one side might not have nearly the growth. So again, my best advice there, just make sure you keep stepping back and forth, looking at it. Shear a little, step back. Shear a little, step back. Right in here, we've got that little hump. So we're going to go in with the pruners, take out again some of those little bit bigger stems. It's going to look a little bit more sheared up on that side, but that's what we're going to have to do, no choice. Once again, the reason we don't like to use that automated shears, if you start getting into branches even this big, a little bit bigger than the size of a pinky, that's where they can run into problems where it wants to just kind of pull you in, and you can cause damage that you can't go back from. How's that look from this side? Good? Let's get this tarp pulled out of here and see how we look. Now that that tarp's gone, I see a little bit of cleanup on the bottom. So there we go, we've got our Techny Arborvitae and our Globe Colorado Spruce all trimmed up. Hopefully I gave you a little bit of courage. If you're in a similar situation, you can go ahead and get after a project like that. I appreciate you watching Garden Hike. We'll see you again next video. And the cleanup, that's always the worst part.